There.
Assalamu alaikum,
Um,
Mazia. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for asking.
Very well. So let's just start with introducing ourselves. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another podcast with Founders Club International. I am Mazia Mehta, Marketing Manager at FCI, and I am so excited for today's podcast. I'm very excited to welcome our speaker for today, our guest for today, Ali Asghar Dossa. I hope I pronounced the name right. Um, yeah, he's a career counselor. Consultant. He's a founder of TSF, which is a career counseling and corporate uh, corporate training services, right?
That's right. That's right. So
Yeah.
TSF does many things, and some of them is part of career counseling as well as
Mm-hmm.
corporate training. We
Yeah.
have five individual offerings, and so the main core offerings is corporate training and career counseling. But
Yeah.
besides that, we work with volunteer organizations, and in fact, with any organizations which wants to take on volunteers, as well as mentorship. So those are our two core CSRs. Those are two functions which TSF will never charge any organization for. And it is something that we truly believe in. And the reason for that, Mazia, is that we believe that it's one of the engines which drives innovation as well as involvement in emerging markets
Yeah.
and emerging careers, as well as allows newcomers entering a field to get an idea about what their career type is, what the
Mm-hmm.
journey of that particular career is. So,
Right.
both volunteering and mentorships are two core functions of TSF, along with career counseling as well as corporate training and
Mm-hmm.
leadership training.
Great. And I believe you're also providing counseling services at Nexter College currently.
I am. I am. I have been
You
for the
are.
last 2 years. This is my second year
Okay.
at Nixel.
Okay.
I started in 2021, in the May of
Mm-hmm.
2021. And a lot of the counseling that I did was really targeted to universities in Canada as well as in the US and the Far East and Europe as well. My main expertise, having lived and worked in Canada and having connections within the Canadian educational system, is of
Yeah.
course Canada. That's the closest to home.
Mm-hmm.
But I also work with the US. In fact, I work with Middle East and Australia, and now I'm beginning to now work with Europe as well.
That's great. We will definitely come to your business. We'll talk all about your business, your TSF,
Sure,
services. Let me just tell everybody that Ali over here is aims to support individuals, students, entrepreneurs with education, development, training, and career choices and career advices, which I think is so great because I believe personally that we're not in the era where you can just jump into anything, right, and be successful and be happy with what you're doing. I feel like it's very, very important right now to be able to navigate your career, navigate your future, just know what you're doing, and if you are able to do that, right? So, and I think that just comes when you know yourself, when you know your capabilities, when you know what you can do and what you love to do. And that is exactly what we're going to be talking about today. How one can just discover themselves, be aware of themselves, know their own personality, and then look forward to the career opportunities that they have, know what they should do and what they should be doing. So yeah, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. You can begin with maybe first let's just talk about you, talk about your journey, what you've studied, maybe your home. You mentioned that
sure.
you've been in Canada for a long time. What
hmm
made you come over here in Pakistan and be counseling at Nixer? Just tell us
Sure.
all about your journey. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Mazia, I loved what you said in the way you phrased it, that everybody's it's learning about yourself and discovering yourself, know thyself.
Yeah.
That is often the key, and it's a mantra which goes back centuries, and there's a reason for that, right? So often we as career professionals entering careers, as people exploring different careers, and our
Yeah.
audience may be people who are mid-career professionals or people who are just beginning now. to explore a career that they have an interest in. It could be
Mm.
because they know that this career is going to have future has a strong future coming up, or they have heard that it has great prospects, and they are now beginning to test themselves within that career.
Yeah.
So each of us has a moment in time where we really have to first self start with self discovery,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
And I'll talk to you a little bit about my journey, but I want to emphasize how I have found in my life and in my career
Yes.
how important self discovery and how great a tool that is to
Of course.
navigate
Of
your
course.
career path.
Yeah.
So
Definitely. We would love to know about your journey of self
sure.
discovery. I would, yeah.
Absolutely. So I'll start off with my own career, and I am a certified career counselor. I'm also a certified life skills coach. I hold two degrees: a Bachelor's of Commerce from Karachi University and an MBA in supply chain from IBA as well. I also hold a postgraduate in career and work counseling from
Mm-hmm.
George Brown College in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and So, Marcia, a lot of my career was started off with a realization early in my life. So,
Right.
I grew up in Pakistan, in Karachi. I grew up into a family which was a business family, and it
Mm-hmm.
was a family of industrialists. So,
Yeah.
my father, in fact, had a factory here in Karachi.
I think I can
And
relate to you on so many levels.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I asked you to do the personality
Yeah,
test,
it,
and
it
you and
was,
I
it
scored the same.
was.
Yes, I
Yeah.
I I, I can't wait to delve into that and dig deeper in
Neither
that
can
for
I.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was very. If now looking back at my life, I'm I don't want to age myself, but I was born in 1976. So I'm almost 46 years old. At least I that's how I calculate it. Yeah. So in my early teens, in fact, when I was about 13, maybe even 12 years old,
Yeah.
I took part in something at that time which was a fundraiser for Kidney Foundation.
Okay.
And I found myself going to my neighbors' homes. This was part of a school project that we were doing, and I was a 13-year-old. And I don't know if some of our audience are maybe that age or have been that age not too long ago, may recall when they were involved in something which took them out of their comfort zone. And the Kidney Foundation was that for me. So I walked out of my house, I walked out with a ledger, and I walked out to my neighbors' homes asking for pledges.
Okay.
And I had to talk about the Kidney Foundation. I had to talk about why it is important, and I had to talk about what will it contribute to society in the coming years. What would this
Yeah.
hospital creation do to our to not just them as contributors, but also to the society in Karachi. And what I began to realize is that my natural affinity was towards creating some kind of wellness or some
Well,
kind of
yeah.
well-being for community. That was my natural affinity or my own
Okay.
drive, right?
Hmm.
And it was an early realization. I don't think I came to conceptualize that realization till much later in my life. But I
Yeah.
would have to admit that that was the first exposure to that realization.
Right.
Later on
Right.
in my life, when I was in college, I decided I, I I was fairly precocious. Having said that, I graduated from college at the age of 19. So I had a diploma for business administration from Humber College in
Okay.
Toronto at 19, and I was ready to enter the workforce. Um, and that was a lot earlier than a lot of my peers. A lot of my peers were at the age of 19 completing the A levels, or they were
A
completing
levels. Yeah.
some
Right.
some kind of secondary education or post-secondary education. I had kind of accelerated myself in my career, in my early education. And at 19, I found myself ready to work. I had a diploma, I had some work experience, and I was fairly employable, and I was living in Canada.
Right.
So I made a choice to take a gap year. I decided to volunteer my 1 year of my life at the age of 19 to an organization called Jeunesse Canada Monde, Canada
That's
World Youth.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And part of that volunteership was to work in rural areas. So I came
Okay.
from Karachi, I moved to
Yeah.
Toronto, two urban hubs, right? My entire life
Okay.
was at that moment in time based in urban communities. So Karachi
I mean,
is
that's
a
this very brave choice to make at the age of 19. Like, nobody really thinks of that.
So I was very fortunate. I was very fortunate. I was enabled to make a lot of choices in my early age, enabled by
Mhm.
my parents, enabled by
Yeah.
living in Canada, being a Canadian, having sponsorships from the Canadian
Yeah.
organizations. Um, and I kind of capitalized that. So I was very aware of where to get support. I kind of searched out and looked for places where I would get support to do what I wanted to do. Uh,
Mm.
but all of that drive came from an awareness that there is something more. So
Yeah.
I had, I was studying business administration when I was in Humber College, and
Okay.
I got into. So I'll walk you through my path. I moved from Pakistan after my O levels, and
Okay.
this was in 1992, and
Okay.
I had an opportunity to either I skipped A levels entirely. So instead of going to university, I chose to go to college. So in 2 years'
Okay.
time, instead of doing A levels, I had done a diploma in business
Diploma.
administration, and
Perfect.
I was ready to work. I had a professional diploma. I was trained. I had some experience as well. Um, but my drive was that has to be something more rather
Yeah.
than joining a firm or joining a bank and going into a 9 to 5. I felt that what, I'm 19. I'm going to
At
work
the
for
age of
the.
19, you just knew what you wanted from life, right? Like,
I wanted to explore.
yeah,
I had a desire to explore, and I
mhm,
had an inkling that there has to be something more.
something more, right?
Right. And during that exchange, I got two different work placements. I got a work placement working in rural Saskatchewan, working on a farm.
Mm-hmm.
And I still remember those 6 months that I was working in the farm. I was in the middle of nowhere, next to a frozen river, in the
It's interesting.
River
Yeah.
Saskatchewan, and I was herding sheep. I was, I built a corral with my coworkers. I was partnered with
Mm-hmm.
somebody from Poland, my co-partner there, and he and I, along with a farmer, built a corral for 50 heads of cow, which
Wow.
uh, I don't know if it sounds like an undertaking, but believe me, it was a 3 month undertaking. It meant collecting wood, scrapping wood to make it into fences, creating
Mm-hmm.
fences which were big enough to hold cow, bringing hay into the corral so the cows would have hay for the next 6 months during winter. And
Yeah.
winter in Saskatchewan starts in November, goes on till March, right?
Wow.
It was an undertaking. And living on a farm for a metropolitan boy like myself was a big change of environment. I can tell you very honestly, I didn't know how to use a hammer, right,
Yeah.
properly till that experience.
Yeah.
And it kind of made me aware about the importance of dexterity, of the importance of having actual experiences, and
Actual experience.
not conceptual experiences of something, but actual physical experience of doing that thing. uh, the second part of that exchange was working in a school, in a high school in Poland, where I taught English. I lived in a small town again, rural Poland. This was in
Mm-hmm.
1997, if I'm not mistaken, between 97 to 98. And this was right after Poland had received its independence. Um so that was the eureka moment for me. So this volunteer program, which lasted for 1 year, gave me
Okay.
two different experiences, right? So one experience was very manual and very physical, where I would have to get up in the crack of dawn, work till sunset, uh, eat with the family, and then go to sleep, and then start the next day working again.
Yeah.
Uh, the other experience was actually working with uh, not only with youngsters or young people, but also with people who wanted to learn the language, and they were older than I was. So there were a lot of people who
Okay.
were in their 30s and the 40s in rural Poland who wanted to now learn English, and they would seek out our support, and we would do whole classes and so on. So it allowed me to really explore two areas of my own personality. Again, this was all unconscious. This was all
Right.
happenstance, right? It was just I was lucky enough to be involved in those programs. But what it created for me is an awareness that so I have a 18-year-old boy, and I would love for him to partake in something like this. That's why Nixer is why I'm so fond of Nixer, and why Nixer makes so much sense to me. And you are a shark, I know, so you can relate to the work that Nixer does in the community
Of
and
course.
the way
Of
Nixer
course.
is
Yeah.
involved. Uh,
Yeah. I
so
definitely understand why you are at Nixer. Like, of course, I can relate to it. I can definitely understand. Yeah.
perfect, perfect. So after finishing my exchange program, I had an opportunity to either go back to school.
Okay.
But my father, who was running a factory here in Karachi, really wanted me to come back. And my
Okay.
father was, God bless his soul, was somebody who was very much a Pakistani. So he
Okay.
was somebody who really loved Pakistan, and he believed in
Yeah.
Pakistan. And he was one of those people who um, I'm very fortunate to call him my dad and to have lived with him.
Mm-hmm.
Was somebody who really cared about the country and the people of
Yeah.
Pakistan. So he said, no, my son has to come to Pakistan, and he has to contribute to Pakistan, and he has to be part of Pakistan.
I
And
think
it
that's amazing though, and I'm so glad that he had that thought and he made you come back if he did. I think we need people like you. What is going to happen to our country if everybody just moves abroad? So
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. And my father had a vision for me, which
Yeah.
is why which is very interesting because he was very in retrospect, I have to say that he was somebody who was very caring, very
Mm.
loving, and somebody who was not only a mentor but also somebody who wanted who was a well-wisher for myself, and he
Of course.
had a plan for me, and his plan for me was for me to become an industrialist like him. Okay,
Okay.
something which I tried to do for almost 10 years.
Okay.
I've tried to follow his footsteps, but there was some kind
Okay.
of an internal conflict I kept facing throughout the journey.
Yeah.
And that was a misalignment between my internal goals to
Mm-hmm.
what he wanted me to achieve,
Yeah.
right? And he wanted me to excel in business,
Mm.
be a successful businessman,
Yeah.
be somebody who is an industrialist, be somebody who is able to, you know, um, not only manage people but also manage industry. And those are things which takes a certain type of a characteristics. Whereas
Mm.
I was somebody who wanted to work with people and wanted to
Yeah.
empower people to not only achieve the best results, but also to be better than I am. So
Right.
my goal in life is always to empower the people I work with so that they can achieve the most optimum results that they can. And I
Yeah.
would prefer them to excel me in every spectrum if they can. My father's
Absolutely.
vision for me was slightly different, not very different, but slightly different.
I think so many of us will be able to relate to you at this point, especially brown kids and parents, brown parents. I think we all have to go through this at some point because, of course, as parents, they do have visions for us. They do have a plan for us.
Hmm. And they are the best wishes for us. They are God's gifts
You
to
to
us, and they are
figure
the.
out that okay,
Mhm.
yeah, like I can actually relate to you at this point because my since the beginning my entire family, my parents, everybody wanted me to pursue medicine, and I did have sciences in my O levels. But
Mhm.
after my O levels, it was I just realized that okay, no, I don't want to do this. Like I don't think I am the person who can stay at a hospital from 9 to 5, or
Mhm.
just be around patients all the time. I am not that person. I want to do something else. I want to do something that is to do with people, to do with interacting connections. But I just want it to be something different. I don't want to be restricted to a hospital. And that is when
Mhm.
I realized, and it trust me, it was very hard trying to convince my parents that that it's not the end of the world. Not doing medicine is not the end of the world. There's so much more that I can do. And yeah, and I'm here, and I think they're happy, hopefully. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's a difficult conversation to have, and it's a very brave conversation to have. Brave for them because it challenges certain beliefs or certain mindsets that they may have, and it's brave for you or for the youngsters because it challenges a stereotype or challenges what you call
Yeah.
what do how would you say it? A mainstream ideology or a mainstream idea.
Can we
So,
just recheck our connections?
sure, absolutely. Can you hear me okay? Hi, Mazia. Are you able to hear me all right? Hi, Mazia. Are you able to hear me? Hi, Mazia. I can't see you right now.
Sorry
Hi,
about
Mazia.
that.
That's all right. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, yes, it's perfect.
I do have to apologize to our audience, and I promise to rectify this. This is actually my first live video podcast, so I do
Okay.
apologize for the lighting. I wish the lighting
I
would be
think I think
better.
it's perfect. It's not a problem.
Thank you, thank you. I hope you're very kind. So, so I was talking to you about my journey. So
Yeah.
after '98, I joined my father, and I worked with him
Mhm.
for almost 2000, for almost 10 years. And this was the
Okay.
journey where I was working in a textile company here in Karachi and here in Kurangi. We were the
Hmm.
first organization to get RAP certification, which is Worldwide Responsible Apparel Production Certification. We were also one of the first organizations to be ISO 9002 certified.
Hmm.
This is back in 2001, and we received various awards for the best exporters um, in Pakistan for textiles for a number of
Hmm.
years, especially in newer markets like markets such as South America, markets such as Colombia, and of course we were exporting to Canada, the UK, Europe, as well as to the
Yeah.
US.
Yeah.
Uh, we were also one of the few companies which were at that time Sears certified and JCPenney certified. I'm mentioning these accolades to let you know and to share with the audience that this was a robust business. This was a business which was at its peak a leader
Yeah.
in the organization in textiles. Um, and My father, he chose to retire in 2007, and I chose to move to Canada in 2007. At that moment in time, Amazia, it allowed me for the first time in my career to pursue something I wanted. Right. Up till that moment in time, I had been working with him and I was focusing a lot on building this business and developing this
Yeah.
business. But that
Doing
gave
what
me
he wanted you to do.
yes, doing what I like to say what we wanted to do. Because
Okay.
by no means it was just his vision. I was there with
Yeah.
him, shoulder to shoulder for 10 years.
Okay.
And we built something together, something which left a legacy after we left. But it then allowed me the luxury to now go into something I wanted to do. And
Okay.
that to me was either working in education or working in counseling.
Okay.
And thus started my journey as a counselor. And when I first graduated from George Brown as a counselor, my first group of clients were people who had injuries in the workplace and were returning to workplace with accommodations. So these were individuals who may have been hurt due to some accident in the workplace, or due to not just an accident happening in the workplace, but an accident which occurred in their life, which did not allow them to work in the same manner as they had before. So they needed to
Okay.
return to work with some accommodation.
Mhm.
Uh, of course, a challenging
Yeah.
client group, a
Yeah.
client group with with many barriers to
Barriers. Yeah.
barriers, as well as uh, various different what do you call challenges that they do
Mm.
face.
Mm.
But it was also highly rewarding. It was one of those most incredible journeys I can say early in my career. Uh,
Yeah.
I transitioned from there to work mainly with newcomers over the
Mhm.
years, over the last 10 years.
Mhm.
Uh, so for the last 6 years, my work in Canada was primarily working with groups like engineers, as well as supply chain professionals and IT professionals who are now moving to Canada from their home countries. And it was very
Okay.
exciting. I got to work with people from Japan, from Africa, from Europe, from the Middle East, from India, from Pakistan, from Bangladesh, and all people with great skill sets and great experiences, all entering Canada for the first time and building a life in Canada and getting strength. So the reason why I'm sharing all of this is because I am a true believer in a phrase which says, "Find work that you love, so you
Yeah.
don't have to work another day of your life."
Yeah. That's
So so
amazing.
I
Yeah.
yeah, and I can honestly say this to you and to our audience that I love what I do. I get up with excitement,
Of course.
be it working at Mixer, or be it working with newcomers entering Canada, or be it working with organizations here in Karachi wanting to explore their talent pool and develop the talent pool. I
Yeah.
love what I do because it aligns so well with my own self and my own vision of myself and what I can contribute, as an individual.
Yeah.
And I find that eureka moment to be incredibly powerful.
Okay.
So I like to use an analogy of somebody finding the Aladdin's lamp, Aladdin ka chirag. So you know the story about Aladdin ka chirag, right?
Yeah.
So Aladdin found this chirag which granted him three wishes, right? So imagine you find a chirag which grants you three wishes of what you want to do in your life,
Yeah.
right? And now that's an oversimplification, but there's so much that you can do with psychology, that you can do with personality types, that you can do with
Yes,
understanding human behavior, that can be keys to understand the kind of work that you want to pursue,
of
right?
course.
And work needs to be more than just work. So work, when it becomes a vocation, right? When your 9 to 5 actually is no longer just work, but in fact it's a vocation, it becomes a desire for excellence, right? And to great to advancement and to growth. So you look at the most successful people in the world. You look at people like Bill Gates, or you look
Hmm.
at people like, what do you call, Jack Walsh, or you look at people, who have done great things. You look at what do you call, uh, Elon Musk, right? These are people who love what they do, and they
Yeah.
do it not because they have just one goal to pursue, but it's their vision. They're following a vision that they care about,
Hmm.
and it's a vision that they want to pursue, and they want to realize.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very powerful thing, and
Yes,
and
of
that
course.
can.
I think you must love what you do, you know. Otherwise there's no point. There's no point waking up at 9 a.m. for a job that you don't truly enjoy.
Yeah.
Like money is not everything. Even though if you're making like thousands of dollars, if you don't love what you're doing, it's not worth it.
And let me ask you this: have you ever walked into an office where you've seen people who are miserable at doing what they're doing? Have
I
you ever
actually
observed that? Yeah.
I actually
and,
have.
and how do you feel when you see them?
I will actually tell you the difference. Before FCI, I actually interviewed for this other company for community manager, and I went there for the interview, and I just saw everybody's faces over there while I was waiting to be called for the interview, and they just looked so done. They just looked like, you know, they were they were being forced to work. And just in that moment I wanted to just go back. I didn't even want to go for the interview because I was like, I cannot work like this, you know. I do not want to be here. And
Hmm.
it was that in that second I was like, I don't want to work here. And then when I came to FCI, the moment I walked into that office, um it was just this feeling of comfort. There were people, you know, just with the expressions of people, just by the way they were at the office, you could tell, okay, they're enjoying their work. They're
Hmm.
really, you know, they really like what they're doing and they're really enjoying this. So it's just that instant vibe that you get, this instant thing that you get when you just know when someone's enjoying their work, when
Yeah.
someone's not enjoying their work. And I think
Absolutely.
one more
Absolutely.
very important factor with this comes is any business that you're doing, anything you're selling, any service that you're providing, I think it's very important to care for your customers, to care for who you're providing to, you know. And if you don't love what you do, you're not going to care for them. And when you don't care for them, I don't think your business is going to be successful in any way. So
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's such a true mantra. Steve Jobs, um, when he launched the i, in fact, it was not the iPhone, it was the iPod, and he
mhm,
came up with the idea about doing things differently, of what makes
yes,
people change makers. And there's
mhm,
such a powerful marketing video that he came up with. He used Martin Luther King, he used Mahatma Gandhi, he used people like
mhm,
real Nelson Mandela, people who were change makers in their society, John Lennon, right? And
yes,
it was all about how to do things differently, because to be a change maker, it kind of means to care about something so much that you're ready to challenge the status quo. You're ready to go against what the norm is because you have that desire or that passion to create something different, right?
yeah.
We are
You're
surrounded
ready to
by.
take that risk.
Absolutely, and that comes with that affirmation of knowing
Yeah,
that you are on the right track, even though you know the odds are great, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that only comes with having internal satisfaction in what you do. It's that's the driver. That's the true
Yeah.
driver for oneself to achieve those
Yeah,
goals,
I think even if
right?
you fail, then I think failure just won't taste as bad because you know that at the end it's something that that's gonna be worth it, and it's for something that you'd love to do again anytime.
Yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely. And like we're talking about lighting, and it reminds me of a story of Edison. So Thomas Edison, who developed the
Yeah.
light bulb, he failed like
Yeah.
250 times before he was able to, light a small bulb in his garage somewhere in eastern
Mhm.
Ontario in Canada. And
Mhm.
Edison was from Canada, right?
That's nice. I think smart people are from Canada then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, some of them for sure.
Yeah.
But yes, what the failure is, I remember my early career. Part of my early career was also in sales, and part of that was a mantra which I still believe in today, that
Mhm.
every no is one step closer to a yes. So a failure is by no means a deterrent.
Yeah.
Einstein said it best, right? The definition of madness is to think that you can get a different result by repeating the same experiment, right? And when you know the result is not right, that means you have to change the experiment. So you have to now look at your failure, learn from your failure, adapt from the failure, and come up with a new solution, because the end result is to come up with the actual success,
Yeah.
or to meet that,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
So I was very fortunate in my career, and this is something I love sharing with people I meet and people I talk to, and it's become
Mhm.
sort of like a passion for my life, is
Mhm.
to discover and to delve into my early childhood, my early teens, and see patterns developing on who I was. You
Yeah.
see, the foundation was already there.
Yeah.
There were certain things which, even as a young
Of
person,
course. Of course.
I knew I wanted, right? And I gravitated towards those opportunities whenever those
Mhm.
opportunities came up.
Mhm.
Working with people, working with social organizations, empowering change. Even when I was working in textiles, where it was very much driven on numbers, it was very much
Yeah.
driven on targets, it was very much driven on timelines. I
Mhm.
still wanted to empower my task force, my workforce. So, I remember
Yeah.
working and training my people with ISO certifications. I remember doing workshops on, in fact, we were one of the first organizations back in 2006 to have what do you call it? We were in Karangi, and one of the things where we realized that a lot of our workforce were women who had children. So we wanted to
Okay.
create a space for them to bring their children if they needed to, if they didn't have people to take care of the
That's
children,
wonderful. Yeah.
for a play group, and we hired a nurse who could take care of the children as well. uh, Health and safety was a priority for us from the beginning. Everything from fire extinguishers to to fire, to having fire escapes, to having first aid kits, were things that I was truly passionate about. And I remember doing health inspections on a weekly basis in my factory. So those were things which were always part of me.
They
It
were
was
always, yeah.
only Yeah, it was only when I actually sat down during my training as a counselor to use psychometric assessments
Mhm.
that they actually appeared from in front of me on paper, and they were
Mhm.
clearly there. Right?
Yeah.
This was something which I hadn't practiced for. This was something which was always inborn,
Mhm.
and
Naturally, yeah.
yeah, and I've always wondered that what would it be if that 18-year-old boy or the 18-year-old girl had received that assessment at the age of 18 and had this eureka moment, rather than spending the next 10 years
Yeah.
discovering it for himself or herself.
You made
right?
such a good point. I feel, honestly, like I think everybody in their lives know what they're made for. There, like you said, it's always there. The foundation is always there since childhood, but it's just sad how maybe the education system over here, or everything around us, it's just I think we don't really get the chance to think about that. We don't really get the chance to ponder upon that, because I feel like the education system, the world is, it's just in a rush. You don't really give people the chance to just sit down and think, okay, what is that what I can do? What is it
So
that I love to do?
yeah, and Mazia, you've hit such an important point, and
Yeah,
it talks about almost the mentality of the industrial revolution, that everything has to fit
exactly.
in a box, right?
Yeah,
Everything has to fit in a square or a circle or a triangle. But what about hexagons, right? What about ovals? What about stars? Right?
yeah,
And what's interesting is that often what happens is stars are conformed to become triangles, and hexagons are conformed into becoming squares, and that's a loss. That is truly a loss, right? And I'm a true believer in empowerment, and empowerment comes from within, right?
mm,
I can tell you, I've had the fortune of meeting people who've had unsurmountable obstacles put in front of them. People who are
mm,
survivors of wars, people who have
mm,
fled their countries, who've lived
mm,
life as refugees, who've fled countries like Sierra Leone, where they were hunted, where they were massacred in numbers, um, and people who've left war-torn places like Syria, and moved to a different country. So I am a true believer in the human spirit, but what makes it possible is empowering that spirit to take action, right?
mm,
And action begins with a realization or an awareness. So
yeah.
I'll ask you a question that your experience with Nixer.
Yeah.
Let's drill back a little bit about yourself, Mazia, and I want to talk a little bit about your experience with 16 personality types. But before we
Mhm.
do that, I would love to learn about your time when you were at Nixer and the activities that you were doing outside the academics at Nixer.
So one of the saddest parts about me being at Nixer was I went to college for just 6 months because then COVID hit.
Oh,
So I didn't really get the chance to do a lot. But while
sure.
I was at Nixer, you must be aware of MBAC. So
Yes,
I
I am.
was a part of,
So,
yeah,
so, so for our audience, मेरी भी एक ख्वाहिश है,
yeah.
right? So tell us about मेरी MBAC and मेरी भी एक ख्वाहिश है.
So maybe a Khwahish was so Nixer basically has multiple entities, societies, what you call, who are for multiple purposes. There's one for media, there's one for finance, there's one for community service, education. So maybe a Khwahish was more about community service. So what we did was we basically had we a plan of how to just help people. It was all about welfare, well-being, what we can do to just help people. That was the
Mhm,
aim, that was the entire existence of that, of maybe a quiet share, which is exactly
mhm,
why I joined that. So not a lot was happening when I wasn't there because it was a very short time, but I did attend like a few events that were organized by maybe a quiet share. I volunteered in some, which were charity fundraising events. And it's just you know in those events, let's say the people who were coming, I honestly noticed that they weren't people coming from the elite class. I noticed people who were coming from lower backgrounds, lower classes, and they were actually there with their children, and they were actually having fun. They were genuinely having fun. And over there, something that I noticed was, how we are actually leaving behind such important parts of our lives. I feel like even with my parents, we don't decide on a Sunday to go to a fundraising event.
mhm,
We don't decide on a Sunday that, oh, let's go interact with some some kids from some random school, or listen to some so we'd rather go to a restaurant, we'd rather go to the mall and shop. But like, what is it giving us? So these events were like, oh, okay, there's actually so much more than what we are doing. I saw people
Mhm.
actually interacting with their kids, having fun with their kids, spending time with their kids. There were students from all types of schools. There were students from Ojala and all these schools, and how they it was just so overwhelming to see how they were finding pleasure in the tiniest of things. you know it's like
Yeah.
it was so much beyond just shoppings and all of that. So that really made an impact on me. And also before Nixer, while I was in school, I was volunteering at South City Hospital. I did that for a month or something. Then I volunteered at Kashana Atfal, which was an orphanage for girls. And all of that, I think that is what fed my soul, what made me realize, okay, this is what I want to do. Helping people, learning about people, interacting with them. It's wonderful when you find people who are just not doing exactly what you're doing, and maybe something much more than that you know yeah.
Absolutely. And when you talk about it, Mazia, your eyes shine, and there's so much passion in when you talk about your experience with, Mary B. Khwaishe and working with all the other organizations that you
Yeah.
talked about. And on all of that tells me, right, that there is that it's it aligns with your own self, and that
Yeah.
awareness or that eureka moment or that realization is so powerful, right?
Yeah.
uh, Now I'm sure within your circle there are many people who you may and again I'm guessing this, but correct me if I'm wrong, but
Mhm.
do you know people who you find following footsteps or following pathways without actually being aware or cognizant of
Of
what they want
course.
to.
Of course. And I feel like there's so much of this because I know so many people. I have a lot of friends who have family businesses. And I know so many people who have different plans for their lives. I know that this is not what they want to do. I know that they want to do something else. Like a lot of my friends who went abroad recently, they have
Mhm.
family businesses over here, and their parents have plans for them to come back and just handle their businesses. But because they went abroad and they're seeing the world in a different perspective, they're seeing the world in a different way, they're actually realizing, this is so much more interesting. I don't want to go back and handle my family business. I want to do something else. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's everywhere, all around us. Either it's family pressure, either it's something external. A lot of times, in fact, you go to universities, and if I tell someone that, oh, I want to be, maybe I want to work at an NGO, and they'd be like, oh, what are you going to get out of this? How much money are you going to make out of this?
Yeah.
So
and
that's
and,
that
and wait,
that's just like.
yeah, and you know what's the argument? I mean, it's funny because there's somebody who heads an NGO, there's somebody who runs that NGO, and that person probably makes more than any engineer does or
Exactly.
any computer science scientist does
Exactly.
that you can think of, right?
Exactly.
I'll tell you a story, and this kind of and I like to go and maybe what we'll do is we will move into personality types and personality assessments after this. But I like to talk to you about somebody who you may have never heard of. The person's name is Craig Kellinger.
Mhm.
Have you heard of Craig
I
Kellinger?
haven't. I haven't.
Okay, so Craig was a Toronto boy. He born and raised in Canada, in
Mhm.
Toronto, Ontario.
Mhm.
And Craig, I believe, was about 9 years old when he was sitting down with his elder brother Peter and his dad on the breakfast table and reading the newspaper.
Mhm.
And in the newspaper there was an article about child labor in carpet industry in Pakistan, and it was
Okay.
about child labor specifically in Faisalabad and in those carpet industry areas. And it was talking about how children at the age of 9 are shackled to carpet mills and carpet manufacturings, and they are kept there till their hands become certain size, because after that age they can't pull the strings of the carpets and make those carpets as well. The
Hmm.
dexterity, hand
Hmm.
dexterity
Hmm.
decreases.
Hmm. Hmm.
Craig, at the age of 9, could not understand this.
Okay.
So he went up to his dad and he asked this question: Dad, why do I live in a world where 9 years old children
Yeah.
my age
Yeah.
are made to work in a factory? Why do I live in this world where 9 year old children are made to work in a factory?
Yeah.
His father couldn't answer that question. So Craig took that same question to his classroom the next day. And he posed that question to his teacher and 26 other boys and girls in his classroom and asked the same question: Why do we live in a world where 9 year olds, children, are shackled to factory in looms to weave carpets? And they made a choice. They made a choice that they do not
Yeah.
want to live in a world where 9 year old boys and girls are made to work in factories. And what they created is something called the Me to We movement. And I would want you, Craig, Killinger, I'm just going to actually give me a moment. I'm just going to pull
Yeah.
him up on my screen.
Oh, okay.
So, and again, I am not, I have, I'm just going to share my screen. And this just came to me while we were talking, Mazia. So, it may not
Mm.
be actually the story that I just shared. It may actually be the story
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
Me to Me movement, because that little classroom conversation led to 8 different organizations over from 1995 to 2023. Craig has also been
Mm.
nominated and has had conversations with the Dalai Lama. He has been nominated for a Peace Award. I actually had a chance to meet with Craig when he was holding the Olympic torch for the Winter Olympics held in Canada, and we just happened to meet each other at Nathan Phillips Square. But it's a
Amazing.
story which I'll never forget, because it's a story about Pakistan. And it's a story about how a boy living in Canada felt for children here in Pakistan and
Yeah.
made chose to make a choice.
That's
So I'm just
amazing.
going to
Yeah.
share my screen, and hopefully this works.
I think it should.
Hopefully, yes. So let's see.
Is it loading or something? Is it loading?
Can you see it?
Nope.
Sorry, are you able to see my screen?
No, I can't. I can't.
Okay, so it's because YouTube can't share it. Let me give me a quick moment. I have maybe you can help me with this. Let me put this in a chat, and
Yeah.
can
Why
we
don't you
find a
just add this to our? Just post a comment. And then
sure,
just you can just attach the link to the comments, and people can go watch that.
sure. Give me a quick moment. Okay. Can I? Okay. I'm not very familiar with StreamYard. How do I attach a comment here? Um,
Um, you will see an option just down over there. There's um can you see it? There's a comment section over there. Post comment.
I'm putting it in the private chat, and I think that should go to you.
Okay.
Do you have the private
Okay.
chat?
Okay. I have it. I have it.
Now, if you could add that in the comment, that would be great.
I
So,
will just, yes, yes, I will.
and and
Great.
I see a couple of questions coming up in the comment section as well, and I'll address that too.
Yeah, we have question.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So Taha is here, and Taha has added that me to V. Okay, great. How important is the vision of a company? Okay, excellent, and that's something we can address for sure. And I think that's something which we can talk about right now, in fact. And I think so Taha,
Yes.
the vision of a company is everything to what the company wants to achieve. The vision is where you start from, right? And a lot of what the vision has to be is what aligns with the goals of the organizations and the people who run the organization. An organization is not just a piece of it's not moving parts, it's actually moving people. It's people who create the change, who people who empower it, who push it forward. So vision's alignment to the organization's leadership is key, right? I'm a true believer of that. So I am a true believer that your vision has to align very well with the leadership which is driving that vision forward. So I don't think in the what do you call Mother Teresa would have been really good as the head of Google. I don't think she would have done very well. Replacing Steve Jobs, right? Similarly, I do not believe Bill Gates would do very well replacing Mother Teresa, working in an orphanage in Calcutta. But again, two people who were greatly successful in what they wanted to do in their life. But it has to align with who you are and what you believe in, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of brings us back to something that I asked Mazia to try and experiment with today, or with yesterday. So Mazia, share with us your experience with trying out 16 personality types.
I actually have something very interesting to tell you. I did mention that I did take this test before, right? So right
Yes,
after
yes.
our call yesterday, I actually texted my cousin, and she actually remembered mine, and it was the same. And she was like, I was like, thank you for educating me about this. I would have no idea, and I never knew I was gonna talk about this because I just never took it so seriously before. But yeah, I think just answering those questions now, you just have this idea about yourself. Like you just
Mhm.
think of yourself like, oh, okay, I am this person. Just answering these questions. I think everybody should take this test. It's very important for self discovery. It's
Abs-
you'll just have this instant about yourself. Yeah.
I love the fact that you actually did this test before, and
Yeah.
and I'm so happy that I'm happy for a couple of selfish reasons, and let me explain them to you. So I've known about this test for the last since 2009. So I don't
Yeah.
want to age myself, but almost 14 years, right?
Okay.
So for the last 14 years, I have been aware of this test, and this test has started off being used, institutionalized back in the 1960s. So
Okay.
back in the 1960s, it was actually being administered in the US and in Canada in some regions to high school students. And it still is being administered to high school students, probably in the grade 9 to 10.
Yeah.
What's amazing about this test, and it's
Mm-hmm.
called the MBTI, and I'm just putting this in the chat, and please feel free to share it with our audience. Um, this is a website
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
16 personality types, which allows you to do this test free. And the test is a lot more, but this is a quick synopsis of what the test results could look like. MBTI, which stands
Mm-hmm.
for Myers Briggs Type Indicator, is one of those personality assessments which are very strongly rated in terms of reliability and validity. So these are the two areas psychologists and psychiatrists look at whenever they look at an assessment. A reliability of an assessment is means that how true will this assessment's results be over the course of the uh, participant's life. So Mazia, you did this
Okay.
assessment maybe 6 months ago, maybe 1 year ago. The reliability of it is how reliable will your assessment 6 months be ago after you do this test 10 years from now. So MBTI is one of those few assessments
Mm-hmm.
which consistently have the strongest, highest reliability ratings. So that is not to say that people can't change, people can change, but majority of the people's test results will remain the same throughout their life. Okay. And the
Yeah.
validity of it is gauged uh, on the results itself. So for instance, your was ENFP,
Yeah.
right?
ENFP.
Right? ENFP. So the ENFP is either the moderator or the campaigner, right?
I read it. I read a little bit about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the ENFP. Hi, sorry about that. Give me. Are you able to hear me, Mazia?
Yes. Yes, I can. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to
No problem. No
apologize.
problem.
I am not that technologically um, sound.
No problem.
Give me a moment. Okay. So I'm just going to
So
take
yeah,
you.
whoever's watching, I would really encourage you all to take this test. It's very interesting. You should read about it as well.
So ENFP, which is the
Hmm.
campaigner or the motivator. So let's. So Mazia, can you see my screen?
I can't see your screen.
Can you? You can't see my screen? How
Nope.
do I share this? I am sharing my screen. Present, share screen. Are you able to see my screen now?
No, I can't. Why don't we just talk about it?
Sure. We can for sure. So the ENFP, uh, and while we talk about it, I'll try to find a way for us to share this as well,
Yeah.
and maybe I can do it through opening up a window. Okay. What about now? Can you share my? Can you see my screen now?
No, not yet.
Okay. And hmm.
I
Okay.
No, not
So
yet.
the ENFP, so in total, there are about 16 different personality types, and these are different assessments. And I would really encourage everybody to take this. How it works is that there are a series of questions which are both psychometric and behavioral. So let me explain what psychometric and behavioral means. So when I say psychometric, these are questions which kind of gauge your your latent personality, or the personality which you are inherently born with. So in terms of your own psychological profile, um, who you are, what your motivations are, where you get your passions from, where you get your energy from, what excites you, what doesn't excite you, what you want to achieve and what you want to create, as opposed to what you do not like and what you would not like to see more of, right? So, for instance, some of us love authority. They love to be an authority. They love to take charge. They love to
Mm,
take this first
mm,
step. Others like to observe. They like to see what's happening, right? I'm sure we've all had people in our lives where who we notice are the first people to jump into a situation. They're the first risk takers in every scenario. When somebody has a question in a classroom, they're the first people to raise their hands,
yeah.
as opposed to people who like to think about it, who like to, evaluate the different opportunities, the different alternatives,
Mm,
and make a very calculated, sound, decision. So
decision,
as
yeah.
opposed to, yeah. So there are many different personality types and many different things which create a personality. So everything from being an extrovert to being an introvert, to somebody who is thinking about the situation, to somebody who is relying more
Mm,
on the feeling of the situation, to somebody who's
mm,
actually not judging a scenario but is sensing, is intuitively
yeah.
understanding what the scenario is and what the situation is, as opposed to somebody who's evaluating the scenario and assigning judgment to the different areas of it, right? Then there are people who are actually people who work very strongly on intuition, and others who work on perception and perceive a scenario as a certain way. So between these eight different characteristics, they combine to create 16 different personality types. And each of these personality types, have different strengths and different areas of abilities, different what do you call and I wish I could share my screen with you, Mazia, somehow. Let me try again.
Yeah. Yeah, please try again.
Okay, so can you see my screen now?
I still can't.
What about now?
No.
It shows that show you in the show everyone can see and hear you. I can see the screen here. View tab. Let me just put this on the chat over here so people can visit it and take a look at it themselves.
Oh,
And
yeah, yeah,
again, I do
definitely,
have to
definitely.
apologize to the group because I'm not
No
very
problem at all.
familiar with this.
No
Let me stop
problem.
sharing. So the different personalities really contribute to who you are. And again, I have to emphasize that this is somebody who, at the age of 11 would probably have the same personality type at the age of 55.
Okay.
So your personality type is basically something that you inherently are. And over the years, yes, over your experiences, you can change and you can adapt to different different abilities, different skill sets, and it adds to your personality. But inherently, the basis or the foundation remains the same. And this is a great tool to kind of gauge, the skill sets, the things that you are motivated of. Now, I'm just going to
Mhm.
use Mazia as a guinea pig over here, if you don't mind, Mazia. So
No
Mazia
problem.
is somebody who tested this, and she was tested as ENFP, which is
Yeah.
extrovertive, intuitive, somebody who uses feeling and perceiving. So she's a true free spirit, charming, independent, energetic. She finds everything interesting. And sometimes that can be a little difficult because it makes choosing a career a bit of a challenge, because she has to kind of
Yeah.
pick something that she, has to choose.
Pick something. Yeah.
Right? But some of the top careers for people of this personality type are sales management, real estate, customer service, film direction, marketing, screenwriting. And so, Mazia, you share this personality with some great, amazing people. So, Will Smith, yes, Will
Yeah.
Smith, Ellen DeGeneres, Sandra Bullock,
Okay.
Robin Williams, and my favorite director, Quentin Tarantino.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I have to say this is probably one of my favorite personality types. Mainly because it's also my personality
It's
type.
also yours. Yeah.
So that's one
Yeah.
more thing Mazia and I have in common besides both being
Mhm.
sharks. And Mazia,
Of
even
course.
though I'm not a NISCL graduate, I still like to call myself a shark.
You do?
Yes,
Yeah. I actually
I'm
told my
surrounded
friends
by.
about this podcast and they were very excited that I'm going to be interacting with a shark. So now that you've said it,
No,
yeah.
absolutely. I surround myself with sharks every day,
Yeah.
and we are up to great things. We are always up to great
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So, Marcia, I also have to confess I have a cat and a dog, and I need to just take care of them very quickly. Can I take a
That's
break for
fine.
10 minutes and come back in about 5 minutes? Is that okay?
You can take a break for 2 minutes if that's not an issue
Sure,
because we
sure.
have to end this podcast in like half an hour.
Perfect, perfect. Let me just
Okay.
take a quick break. And I'm going to
Okay.
just, while I do that, I'm going to share some of the links over here with you that you
Okay.
can actually put this over here as well. And
Okay.
if I can invite you to see if you can share this somehow, and maybe find the video for Craig, that would be great. See if you
I
can
will
find a way
try
to
to
share
figure
our
it out.
screen.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem. Everyone watching, if you have any questions as well, you're most welcome to post them on the comments and we will address them.
Excellent. That's working.
Yeah, I did something.
Good. I'm glad you did
Trying to
that.
figure it out. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to let you work with that for a quick minute, and I'll be right back.
Perfect.
Excellent. I can see that, and that's working. And we also, I wanted to introduce you guys to Joey, who just couldn't resist but needed attention right away. So I had to bring him in the screen. I hope that's all right.
Cute. That's adorable.
Yeah. So part of my journey in life is also, having pets all my life, and it's something that I have to admit, it's been something that they give me more than I ever give them. So they bring a lot of joy, and it's something I really care about. So Joey wanted to jump up and say hello, so I couldn't say no to him. Okay, so this is great, Mazia. So let's take a look at. Are you able to go to the different types of personalities here?
Okay.
So instead of going to, yes, perfect. That's excellent. If you can go to find your type, if you scroll up and let's click on find your type. Hi, Mazia. Can you hear me? Hi, Mazia. Are you able to hear me? Hi, Mazia. Are you able to hear me? Okay. So while Mazia figures this out, I just wanted to share with everybody. So there are 16 different personality types, and they comprise of all the 8 characteristics that we looked at earlier. So extroverted, introverted, intuitive, sensing, judging, perceiving, and from the collaboration of these 8 types, we come up with 16 different individual personalities. Mazia, are you able to click on find your type?
I'm just going on it. Wait. Is this what you want to see?
That's exactly it. So let's scroll up to the top of the page. What I'll also do at the same time is I'm going to share in the chat with you, if I can. Um, Give me one quick moment. Mazia, I'm going to, yes. So if you can scroll to the top of the page, I'm going to send something to you in the chat. And maybe if you can open that up, Mazia, that would be great.
Okay, okay, I'll do that.
Oh, I don't know if you can open it up because it's from my computer. You can't, you probably won't be able to open that up. Give me one second. Let me save this as an image. Um,
I think this screen sharing is taking a bit more time. Why don't we just talk about it like an overview? You can give
Sure, sure,
just an
sure.
overview, and we can just, you know.
Let's do that. Let's do that. I like that idea. Um, Give me a quick second.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, there are 16 different personalities, and these comprise of 8 different characteristics. So extroversion, introversion, sensing, intuition, thinking, feeling, judging, and perceiving. And out of these 8, we come up with 16 different types. So uh, things like the inspector, the nurturer. The inspector is somebody who is introverted, sensing, um, thinking, and judging. The nurturer is somebody who is introverted, sensing, feeling, and judging. And again, similarly, what we looked at with Mazia, and she was kind enough to be our test subject, was the ENFP, which is the introverter, um, uh, n- sorry, an intuition-based feeling and perceiving. So, Mazia, I am just going to put this somehow. I'm going to just share this with you in WhatsApp. And I wonder if you can
Okay.
find a way to add this somehow. I'm more comfortable with Zoom, and I know how to do the screen share in Zoom quite well. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah. We were
this
actually
particular.
doing Zoom earlier, but yeah, we were actually doing Zoom earlier, but we figured that through StreamYard we could stream to 4 different locations, so that's why we chose
Uh-huh,
StreamYard this
uh-huh.
time.
That's
Yeah.
perfect. It's just that I am not very familiar with it myself, and like many different things in my life, it's again something which I'm going to learn and hopefully master at some point.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've shared this with you via WhatsApp, and I wonder if you can somehow maybe bring it up on your screen. I don't know if you can do that.
Let me just try. Mm.
Also, are you able to share with me how many participants do we have right now, or what our audience base looks like?
Our audience is actually on 4 different locations, so we don't really get that over here. So because
Gotcha, gotcha.
YouTube will have a different audience, Facebook will have a different audience, Twitter will have a different audience. It's like that.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
So I wish everybody who gets a chance visits these personalities. And again, it's very simple, 16personalitytypes.com. So you can go there and do this assessment. Also, at this
Um,
moment, I
um,
like,
Ali, why don't you just tell us a little about each type of personality, like whatever you can recall, whatever you can think of.
sure,
Like for
sure, sure.
example, mine. Like, how do you think this influences my career choices? Just a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So in terms of career paths, like we talked about, I mean, the motivator or what you call the campaigner is somebody who really enjoys or wants to be part of something greater than themselves. So these are people who rally a group towards a cause, or rally a group of people towards a particular value or a particular goal. Again, these are
Yeah.
people who are not just change makers, but these are also people who are instigators. So they are people who would create awareness within a group, and motivate a group towards a path which is generally for the betterment of the group itself. So,
Right.
one of the challenges motivators have is because they are so multifaceted and their interests are so wide, that it's difficult for them to choose just one career, right? So maybe they want to fly helicopters, or maybe they want to be an oceanographer, or maybe they want to write songs, or maybe become a cook, right? The
Yeah.
ideas are, they have a wealth of ideas and interests and hobbies. And sometimes that can be the main struggle. But what makes
Yeah.
that also a strength is the ability for them to be able to relate to so many people at so many different levels. One of the things that a motivator has, a superpower that a motivator has, that they have the amazing empathy to be able to
Empathy.
align themselves with, different ideas, different people, and different viewpoints.
Mm-hmm.
It gives them that ability to maneuver in organizations, and to be the change makers, to be the catalyst of change. uh, One of the drawbacks motivators sometimes have is that they can get discouraged. So when they find that they are not really part of an organization which values their contribution or values their input, it can be strongly disencouraging for them. So it's very important for people like this to find areas like, Mazia spoke about her experience with FCI, is to find areas where they can
Yeah.
be valued and contribute
I
effectively,
think
where they
where you
contribute.
can just be empowered, like
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? I think you said it. It's not just about, your 9 to 5. It's not just about getting the
Mm-hmm.
paycheck. It's being able to create value on in what you're doing, to having that empowerment, and seeing, your work create change.
Yeah.
So, they are one of those people who are true, what do you call, optimists. And it's very difficult to put in a motivator or a campaigner down. So not easy to, for them to be discouraged by just negative thoughts. So, what
I was
discourages
actually
them?
gonna say that I think from my personal what I think is it's very difficult for for it to just knock us down no matter
Yeah,
what. I
yeah. I
think
mean,
I think we always try to find a way out.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's like you almost die hard campaigners, where when once you believe in something, once you have a true value that this thing has got, is going to create change, or is going to empower people around you, or is going to create some positive impact. Is something which motivates you to such a depth that you will surmount all obstacles to achieve that goal, right? And move
Mm-hmm.
towards it. It's only when you find that you are not being appreciated in the work that you do, as campaigners, that can be, a bit disheartening. But it is
Yeah.
not the fact that, you know the naysayers are not going to bring you
Mm.
down. It's actually people who don't sign up for what you believe in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is some of the things that makes an ENFP characteristics. But then there are four different types that you can broadly explain. So ENFP would be under, excuse me, sorry. So the diplomats. So the four main characteristics are the analysts, diplomats, centennials, and explorers. Analysts are people who have strong intuition and thinking personality types, and they're known for their rationality, impartiality, and intellectual
Yeah.
excellence. So these are people who really
Okay.
value. So think about architects, think about, accountants or doctors, think
Mm.
about naval
Mm.
commanders, or think about, people who lead armies. So these are people
Yeah.
who really look at the numbers and the facts. So they kind of break
Yeah.
down the information, and they want to really understand what the information is telling them. They kind of value impartiality. So they don't really want to be aligned to
They
one
think more
thought.
rationally.
Yes, so they're more rational, they're more intellectually
Yeah.
driven, they are
Mm.
more information driven types, right?
Mm.
Diplomats, where the campaigners fall in, are people who have a strong intuition and feeling personality. So they possess great amount of empathy. They are super skilled in diplomatic abilities, and they are passionate about what they believe in. They're passionate about
Yeah.
what they want to pursue. and they can be the great heroes of a battle. They can be great advocates and create that change that needs to happen.
mm,
The other personality type, which is a broad personality area, is the centennials. These are the ones who are actually, they may seem like the ones who are sitting back and observing, but they are actually gathering information. They are really practical, and they want to look at things in order and in organization. They believe in stability and they believe in security. So unless they know that this is completely they will not change unless they are 100% sure that that is a
mm,
better way. So they
mm,
clearly see the reason for the change, right?
yeah,
They are almost like the conformists, but they're also the what keeps us stable. So they are the bricks which we create our
mm,
foundations from.
mm,
Okay,
right,
so often these are the people in your own families. You can find the centennials
yeah,
as the people who are, the archetypes of your family, or the heads of the family who kind of define the way the family should be functioning, the
mm,
way your,
mm,
the norms of the family should be governed, and really the way the family should to be. And then there are the explorers. So these are the virtuosos, the advertisers, the entrepreneurs, the entertainers. These are they are observant, but they're also prospecting. They're always looking and
yeah,
trying to find new ways of doing things. They are filled with spontaneity and ingenuity and flexibility. So they have that wonderful ability to take on different personas, to take on different challenges, and they do this
do
almost
they come up
seamlessly.
with like a new idea every 5 minutes?
Yes, yes, and
Because that's Taha Maiman.
that is, yes. And
Yeah,
it's so funny how I met Taha, but that's a conversation for another time.
he actually
But
did mention that to us.
yes,
Yeah,
so Taha and I are both members of Gymkhana, and I
yeah,
met him at the swimming pool area, where he was,
yeah.
devouring this huge giant burger, while he was also interviewing somebody about the super connectors that you guys are starting.
Okay,
And I
yeah.
was sitting across from him just after my swim, and I just overheard what he was talking about. And there were a few things which he said, which said, "Hey, that kind of sounds interesting, and I should go and say
Mm,
hello."
mm,
But I was really excited to talk to him. And again, he was somebody who came up with this idea, and I was very fortunate to meet him when I did. That was just Monday,
yeah.
just 2 days ago, in fact. I think
Mm,
on Sunday, in fact, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah,
okay.
so Taha is definitely one of those people who are spontaneous and ingenious,
Yeah.
and ingenious, coming up
Yeah.
with new ideas and new ways of doing things. And
Yeah.
so, like what I like about this is that it takes everyone. It takes, like the old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Similarly,
Yeah.
it takes multiple different types of personalities to create,
Mm,
the world we live in, or to create the
mm,
multifaceted,
yeah.
vibrant society that we want to have. And each
Yeah.
of these personality types needs to have that space to
Mm,
explore their strengths,
mm,
to space to
mm,
to kind of
mm,
experiment, to try on different things.
mm.
So what I would want to also talk about at this stage, Mazia, is TSF,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
talk a little bit about TSF careers. And
Okay.
I'm just going to share that in the chat. Actually, let me just put the full URL. Are you able to somehow
I can. I
share
can.
that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Sure.
So TSF Careers is an organization I started in November of 2019, almost about, well, I guess 5 months before COVID hit. And what TSF is an organization which has five different offerings. So we offer five functionalities. The first one is corporate training. The second is career counseling, one-on-one career counseling. The third is life skills coaching. Life skills coaching is with groups, and this creates behavioral change and empowerment in different behaviors. The fourth and the fifth are two areas where TSF careers will never charge anybody for. The first one is mentorship, and the other one, the next one, is volunteership. So as an organization, we believe in these two core functions of society to foster mentorship opportunities and foster volunteership opportunities for organization to take on volunteers, for people to be mentors and mentees, and to grow, exponentially with others.
Yeah.
What we would do is we would organize mentorship opportunities, connect you to mentors, as well as connect mentees to mentors and mentors to mentees, and create lesson plans, or sorry, so learning agreements. And what the mentee wants to achieve and what the mentor wants to be able to deliver.
Yeah.
Similarly, our goal is to create volunteership programs for any organization which wants to take on volunteers. So, be it an organization which is a non for profit, or an organization which is for profit, but it wants to take on volunteers to maybe train them to on a certain function of the organization. It could be, a factory wanting to take on people to train them on how to produce, or how to do merchandising for a particular product, or to develop
Yeah.
a particular product in their lab. Again, these volunteerships opportunities would be documented and would have to have an agreement between the volunteer and the organization which is taking on the volunteer. That's where TSF comes in. So the goal of a
Right.
volunteership is to protect the rights of the volunteer so they are not exploited, as well as enhance the most amount of value that the organization gets from engaging a volunteer. So really, we look at it from balancing both ends. And again, TSF has now been
That's
in
great.
Pakistan. Thank you, thank you.
Okay.
And
It's functioning in Pakistan, right? It's functioning in
it is.
Karachi.
That's right. It's functioning in Karachi. So we
That's
worked
great.
with
That's
Kareem.
great.
We've also worked with Ontex Global, which is a French FMCG. We are actually part of Energy University's National Incubation Center, where I actually work as a mentor there, and I am doing a workshop on hiring and onboarding with them just next week. And
Amazing. Amazing.
we've also worked with organizations like the the T2F, the Second Floor Cafe, and where we've done
Okay.
workshops. In fact, I did a workshop,
Okay.
on the T2F, TSF platform at Nixa College last year, where we did the
Okay.
personality dimensions workshop with them. So yeah, so for the
Okay.
last 3 years, we've been working in Karachi's, primarily the Karachi, what do you call, infrastructure in Karachi ecosystem, you may want to say.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
but but yeah, again, but yes, we want to do more. We had 3 years of Corona. We started in
Yes, of course.
2019, and really now is when we are actually gearing up again to pre-Corona times.
I'm sure you will add so much value to the ecosystem. I'm sure you're doing great. Um, so I think just the last few questions before we end the podcast.
Sure, sure.
Let's just recap all of it, everything that we talked about, just to cap it all up.
Mhm.
Ali, what do you have to say about the importance of self-awareness to choose your career? How important is it to know your personality to choose what to do in life?
So I think, the analogy that it's really allows you to understand yourself, and to get a better depth of your inherent abilities and God-given gifts, and
Yeah.
aligning those God-given gifts and those abilities, those values with what you choose in your career will allow you to pivot that career to greater heights. So it's a definite advantage, knowing your personality type, knowing what you
Yeah.
naturally gravitate to. And again, there is no mystery here, right? It is you answering the questions which are
Yeah.
impartial. And again, we talked about the validity and the reliability of these assessments. And it's not just me saying it, it's almost 50 years of psychiatrists and psychologists who have evaluated these assessments, who stand by their reliability and their validity. And MBTI is a great tool. Having said that, so it's
Do you
really,
have any? Yeah.
so just to
Sorry, you can continue.
just so sorry, just to end that particular question. It's really gives you an insight into who you are, which allows you to make educated decisions about your career goals, which align well
Hmm.
with yourself, your
Hmm.
values, and your inherent abilities.
Hmm. Right, right. And other than that, other than MBTI, any advice that you would like to give the students or just young individuals, what should they be doing in life? What should they add to their life that, just makes them realize what they do? Like for example, volunteering. Like for me
Mhm.
and you, for me it was volunteering. For you, it was that. What should we be doing? What should we be adding to our lives to, just
Yeah. So I always use the example that, would you ever buy a pair of shoes without wearing them? Would you ever go into a
yeah,
shop and buy a pair of shoes without putting them on and maybe walking 5 steps, right? It's similar with a
yeah,
career.
mm,
It's a huge risk in my mind to spend
yeah,
4 years in a bachelor's and maybe study to become an accountant, and find out that you hate accounting, or you hate working in a bank and crunching numbers all the time. And that
yeah,
happens. That happens more than you can imagine. So I always say that, try to do internships, try to do some kind of experiential learning before you commit yourself to
yeah,
one career goal. It's very
hmm,
important for you to have experienced what it is to do that job, to be able to know what
yeah,
you like about it and what you don't like about it. Is just as important.
yeah.
you know and
Yeah,
again,
exactly.
yeah, and keep in mind, I always like to say this to the young people I meet with, that you have the advantage of learning from people's experience, and experience is making mistakes. One gets
Yeah,
experience by making mistakes. So instead of
yeah.
repeating those mistakes, it's good to learn from those mistakes and not repeat
Mhm.
them.
Repeat them. Right, right. I would also like to add, like, for everybody watching, especially the students and maybe university students, guys, you cannot sit at home and think that you're gonna begin your struggle after you're done with your bachelor's or at 25. That's not how it's gonna work. And like, as he said, you cannot be 25 and then just go to a job and be like, oh, I don't enjoy this. That is not the time. I think, like, if, for example, I did not take this internship at FCI, I would have never known what I was capable of. Taha would never be able to push me to this. And like 4 months ago, I couldn't even imagine I'd be sitting here interviewing the most talented entrepreneurs in the world. But I guess that's what it is. You have to take that risk, you have to take that opportunity. You have to intern at places, you have to figure out your options, and then you will find your way. Once you know what you can do, once you know your capabilities, everything just falls in place eventually in itself, and you don't really have to worry about anything then. Yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Ali, another question. What is your
Mhm.
secret to profiting in life?
So that's a great question, Mazia. And following my, and I really believe in this, and this is something which it's also on our website, is something which is a true mantra for myself. I love what I do. I love what I do,
Yeah.
and I really enjoy what I do, and that has
Yeah.
yielded great rewards for me in my career. So being recognized by my peers, being moving within my different organizations that I've been a part of, and really finding that my I am contributing to the organizations I work for, has both been financially rewarding and also been really rewarding for in terms of the work I do. So those are
Yeah.
my motivators, right? So I really believe that find what you love and pursue it.
Amazing.
So
Yes, perfect.
yeah, yeah. So I think that's been
Just
a main motivator for me. Yeah.
amazing, amazing. Yeah, so that's about it. I think just one last, where can our listeners go and learn more about you, know more about what you do? Just, just let them know.
Absolutely. So please visit my website. It's tsfcareers.com. And Mazia has a link, and I'm sure I put it on the chat window as well. So we are on Facebook, we are on LinkedIn. I'm looking forward to collaborate with Taha and Mazia and FCI to create upcoming
Definitely.
mentorship opportunities as well as workshops to present some of these personality assessments in Karachi. I'm also working on translating a personality assessment called Personality Dimensions into Urdu, so that that is more available to the larger masses. Because again, I believe that assessments like that not only empower people, it also builds empathy in a larger platform. So
Yeah,
please go visit our website, tsfcareers.com, connect with FCI. They have all my information. Subscribe to their YouTube page, like their LinkedIn and their Facebook. And thanks again, Amazia and Taha, for organizing this today. I really
my
had a great
pleasure.
time, and
It
I
was
hope.
wonderful, Ali. It was wonderful connecting with you. I loved this conversation. It was amazing.
Thank you, Mazia. Thank you for the opportunity, and thanks a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, we look forward to more interactions with you. We look forward to staying in touch. We will definitely come up with more stuff. Yeah,
Wonderful, wonderful. I look forward to it. Thank you.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Take care. Thank you so much. That's
Thank
about
you.
it. Okay, I'm just ending the live. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Khuda Hafiz and
Take
God
care.
bless. Thank you. Bye.